Now it is that time of night that the graves all gaping wide, everyone lets forth his sprite in the churchway paths to glide. Midsummer Night's Dream, William Shakespeare. Long ago, when roads were little more than cattle tracks and the dead had to be carried on the shoulders of the living, there were places along the way where a coffin might be set down to rest. And where that happened, something lingered. They called it the stray. Walk across such a spot by moonlight and light will do you no good. You'll be turned around not in body but in sense. You'll end up wandering the same patch of earth over and over again, thinking that you're bound for home, but your own gate never appears. No matter how you twist or turn, the ground just won't let you go. Even if someone is with you, someone who sees the path clearly, they can't bring you out of it. You're alone inside the stray. Paddy Dunn from County Sligo in Ireland reportedly learned that the hard way. Corpse roads, often known as coffin roads, lych bier ways, or burial paths, were historic routes used to carry the dead from rural homesteads to churches that had burial rites. Born of necessity in remote parts of medieval Europe, these sombre trails wove through moor and woodland over streams and stiles, the last journey of the dead. In many areas, particularly Ireland and upland Britain, the surrounding farms had no church nearby. Only one mother church in the district had the right to consecrated burial, and so the deceased had to be carried, sometimes for miles, across difficult country. These paths emerged out of a blend of religious necessity, geographic isolation, and a deeply held belief in the importance of a proper Christian burial. These roads were normally as straight as possible. The shortest route was thought not only to be practical, but also the most spiritually sound. A straight path helped the soul travel swiftly and surely, but a winding road was said to confuse the spirit. In the Netherlands, for instance, Charlemagne ordered that burial roads be laid straight just for this reason. In the Gooi region, 7 straight paths known as Doodwegen converged in one cemetery. Many of these routes crossed through private land, leading to the belief, mistaken but widely held, that a coffin being carried through a field turned it legally into a public right-of-way. Some farmers left unploughed strips along edges of their field that were wide enough to carry a coffin without touching the crop. In Ireland, land crossed by a funeral was often considered tainted or cursed. In some communities, particularly in Costa Rica and Uppland, Sweden, evidence of ancient corpse routes has been discovered, built along spiritual or ceremonial lines. The Viking cult road at Rosaring, for example, was used to carry chieftains in ceremonial wagons. Along these routes, just like in Ireland, you might find resting stones, large flat boulders used by pallbearers to stop and rest without placing the coffin on the ground. Coffins themselves were often made of wicker, much lighter and easier to carry than wood. And these stones too became fixed places in the landscape, known by name and reputation. Some of the churches at the end of the journey had a dedicated death's door or leper's door, only used for bringing in corpses. The body would never pass through the same entrance as the living. Death, like birth and marriage, had its own threshold. Corpse roads were more than practical paths. They were lines of power, haunted places. They were thought to be the tracks the dead would take again and again. A ghost, once it walked the path to the grave, would walk it over and over in the spirit world. To prevent the dead from returning, traditions evolved. Bodies were always carried feet first, so the soul would not be able to find its way back. Sometimes the coffin would be turned or spun at a crossroads to confuse the ghost. At some churches, the procession circled across 3 times sunwise before burial, just to make sure. Water was a strong defence. Ghosts can't cross running water, so many corpse roads were routed deliberately over streams or fords. Dartmoor's Lych Way, for instance, crosses 8 or 9 streams depending on the path taken. This created a sort of supernatural barrier, ensuring that the dead stayed where they were laid. But even with precautions, things went wrong. Lights appeared along the paths, corpse candles, or you might know them as will-o'-the-wisps. These glowing orbs skimmed low along the earth, often seen the night before the death. They were said to travel from the home of the soon-to-die to the churchyard, tracing the path the coffin was yet to take. In Ireland, where a coffin had once rested, a stone was drawn and left. Over time, cairns of these stones actually built up because people passing by would add another, whisper a blessing or a warning that the place had been touched by death, and you better not forget that. Lone bushes grew around these cairns, whitethorn especially, said to shelter spirits that would curse anyone who dared cut them. Some believed that the paths were not just used by human souls, but by otherworldly beings. Fairy funerals were reported along these ways, tiny processions bearing invisible coffins. Grey spectral mares pulling phantom wagons. Fairy hosts heading off to war. And if a house was built across one of these roads, the inhabitants could expect nothing but bad luck, illness, or worse. On Samhain, the dead were said to travel their old corpse paths to visit their earthly homes. Others spoke of spectral dogs or the clop of hooves where no horse could be seen. Uncle Tom Cobley and his grey mare, this is a Devon song and story, may have begun as a tale of just such an encounter with a ghostly funeral procession. And then there were the devil stories, that he walked these paths at midnight following his own dead or seeking new souls to collect. Dartmoor's Lych Way is perhaps the most famous of the corpse roads. A 12-mile path crossing bleak moorland, it once linked remote ancient settlements to the mother church at Lidford. The route becomes even longer in poor weather, and it's said the dead still walk it on Samhain, the spirits weaving between the gorse and granite. The path deliberately crosses multiple watercourses, serving not just geography but belief. Each stream an invisible line a ghost can't pass on its return. In Cumbria, coffin trails wind through the valleys near Rydal and Grasmere. Some paths are still marked with resting stones, old-style steps and worn ground, while certain fields once crossed by these processions are rumoured to be barren to this day. Even now, walkers have reported a strange hush or the sensation of being watched. Those death roads in the rainforests of Costa Rica even show up in NASA mapping. Archaeologists' work have revealed straight ceremonial roads built by ancient peoples leading between burial mounds. Though now overgrown, the land still bears these ghostly scars, tracks built for spirits as much as for feet. Chinese history offers another eerie parallel. In Hunan, Taoist corpse carriers once transported the bodies of workers who had died far from home. Using long bamboo poles, they created the illusion of bodies hopping, leading to tales of the Jiangxi, hopping vampires. To avoid bad luck, these processions travelled only by night, ringing bells to warn the living to keep their distance. It's said that the cooler night air helped preserve the bodies, but perhaps it also kept other things quiet too. Today, many corpse roads have faded into bramble and field, but the land remembers. Old place names linger: Coffin Wood, Dead Man's Lane, Church Path, Church Ford, Corpse Lane, or Coffin Mill. These names are often the only signs of what once passed there, signs that something moved slowly, heavily across the land with purpose. Resting stones can also still be found, flat slabs by the side of forgotten tracks, mossy with age. In Dartmoor, the coffin stone still lies in the Widecombe Churchway, where pallbearers pause to gather their strength. Hikers today might follow these trails, unknowingly walking the paths of the dead. Some could report a chill on the warmest day, or an odd silence in the rustling of the trees. Maybe they feel like they're not alone. Walk these paths with care. Step softly. Don't block the way. And if you feel the cold close in, if the road turns unfamiliar, if the moon seems to flicker, stop and sit and wait for morning. Paddy Dunn, that poor soul, was caught by the stray in his own land. He was crossing what was known colloquially as the Big Field with his wife at his side when the land turned against him. He couldn't find his way, not forward nor back. His wife begged him to follow her, but it was as if he couldn't hear her, couldn't see what she saw. At last she made him sit down on the grass. They stayed there for a long time, cold and lost in the dark, until they saw a light bobbing near. It was actually their own neighbours, coming from the very house they'd left hours before. They hadn't gotten far at all, but Paddy could not be reached. Today, the Big Field is still there, and people still take a wide berth of the resting place at night, just in case. Some paths don't forget, and some souls, like Paddy Dunn, once walked, never stop walking. The land remembers.
Thanks for listening, and fuck yeah, folklore.
Fuck yeah, folklore.